What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be taking a look at the co-main event at UFC 294. It's Khamzat Chimaev versus Paulo Costa, and I'm here to tell you guys why I think this fight just isn't going to be close at all. Now, this fight was made for two reasons and two reasons only. Let's get that straight right off the bat. Paulo Costa is the easiest fight for Khamzat Chimaev in the top 5 in the middleweight division, and the UFC is going to do whatever they can to get him involved in that title picture, considering Israel Adesanya no longer holds the belt. They want another superstar up there, and putting Khamzat against a guy like Paulo is definitely a great idea. The other reason is the fact that, well, these guys actually have pretty good banter between each other. There's been a big back and forth ever since they saw each other in the PI about a year ago, and it's always been the fight that's been rumored to happen once Khamzat did make the move to middleweight. Besides those things, though, I can't really think of an actual reason as to why this fight was made. I mean, you have a guy in Paulo Costa who just hasn't lived up to the expectations that were placed on his shoulders when he came into the UFC. Since his fight was with Israel Adesanya, which took place in 2020, by the way, he's only fought Marvin Vettori and Luke Rockhold. He lost to Marvin Vettori, and he barely beat Luke Rockhold. Rockhold's in bare-knuckle boxing right now, getting his face smashed in by Mike Perry. So what does that tell you? Like, he's clearly not good enough for MMA anymore. So why did a guy like Paulo Costa, a top 5 ranked middleweight, struggle with him so much? And I know people are going to talk about altitude and say, oh, the fight was in Utah, but to be honest, that doesn't really give a reason as to why Paulo should struggle with Luke. Like, at this point in his career, Paulo Costa should be running through a guy like Luke Rockhold and should be on his way to fighting for another title. I mean, he's still young, still relatively young in the sport as well, doesn't have a lot of fights. There's no reason he should be struggling with a guy like Luke Rockhold. Let's move on to Chimaev more so too now. Now, we haven't seen Khamzat Chimaev in a while. That's fair to say. But we also haven't seen Paulo Costa in a while. Actually, we've seen Khamzat Chimaev inside of the octagon more recently than we've seen Paulo Costa, which is a big thing. Ring rust isn't going to affect either fighter in this fight. Both of these guys haven't fought in a year, so it will be slow at the start, but I think it'll get going quickly. I mean, we know what Khamzat Chimaev's about now, though, right? He's a phenom. Like, his wrestling is out of this world. I'll never forget that fight against Kevin Holland. That was ridiculous. Like, I know Kevin Holland may not be the best opponent, but he's still a pretty damn good fighter, and the way Khamzat just dismantled him in literally under 2 minutes was nothing short of exceptional, to be honest. Like, it was an incredible performance, and I honestly don't see why he can't do the same thing to Paulo Costa. I think another thing people are going to bring up is the weight difference here. How Paulo's a proper middleweight, and Khamzat was fighting at welterweight. But Khamzat's big enough to fight at middleweight. Like, the guy has to walk around at around 210, 215. Like, he's a big boy, and he's always cutting a lot of weight to get down to welterweight. I think the extra weight at middleweight and not being malnourished or like drained in any way could actually be more of a benefit than a negative. Khamzat's big thing too has always been his strength. He's been a lot stronger than a lot of his opponents, and while right here that may not be the case with a guy like Paulo Costa, Paulo's a big strong guy, but I still think Khamzat can throw him around. Like, and that's not even something bad against Paulo. Like, I just think Khamzat can throw around pretty much anyone in the division at this point. Like, he's just that strong. And if he gets his hands on a guy like Costa, I'm worried as to what he could do. We've seen what happened with a guy like Vettori. We've seen what happened with Izzy. Paulo can't really, he just can't really wrestle that well. And it's just the truth. It's a horrible stylistic matchup for him. This is the worst guy Paulo could fight right now. And I truly believe that. And on the flip side, this is the best guy Khamzat Chimaev could face. I mean, that's exactly why this fight was made. Let's get real about it. Khamzat Chimaev, like I've stated before, he is one of the biggest stars in the UFC. Hasn't fought in a long time. Maybe a little bit rusty. You don't want to throw him in there against a guy like Robert Whittaker or Adriscus du Plessis even. You want to give him kind of a tune-up match, but a match that could still entertain fans, number one, and also draw eyeballs. And that's exactly what this fight will do. The press conference is going to be awesome. The build-up to this fight is going to be awesome. It already kind of has been. And that's why this fight was made. It's a fight that Khamzat can definitely win. It's a fight that people still won't ask too many questions about because Paulo is a ranked middleweight high up in the division, and a win here technically could grant Khamzat a shot at the belt. And that's exactly why this fight was made. This isn't a situation where it's like, oh, Khamzat's finally going to get the big test to see if he can really hang at the top. I mean, are people really convinced that Paulo Costa is a better fighter than Gilbert Burns? Because I'm not. And Gilbert Burns gave Khamzat a pretty damn tough fight, where Khamzat almost lost that, to be honest. And depending on who you ask, he did lose that fight. So, yeah, I don't think Paulo Costa is going to bring much to the table for a guy like Khamzat. I think his striking, while it may be a threat because he is big, Paulo likes to stand far away, try and pick away his opponents, but I don't know. I don't think Khamzat's going to be too threatened by it. It's also been a year. A lot can change in a year. Both of these guys could have sharpened up on the feet as well, on the mat as well. I just don't think, I can't see anything in Paulo's game that really, really troubles Khamzat at this point. You guys probably think I'm some massive Khamzat fanboy now too, and I promise, I'm really not. Like, I really am not the craziest Khamzat fan. I respect his skills, and I think he's super talented, but I wouldn't say I'm a big diehard fan. I'm not dying to see him hold the UFC belt. I just think that he's just too good. He's too good for a guy like Paulo Costa. Nothing Paulo Costa's done so far has impressed me. Nothing has told me that he's going to win this fight. Everything's pointing to Khamzat, and guys, don't be surprised with an early finish here. Don't be surprised if Khamzat can go out in that first round even and find a submission. I wouldn't be shocked. The only thing is, it has been a while. There might be a little bit of ring rust for both guys. That's why we could see this fight move into the later rounds. But I don't know. I don't think Paulo can really give Khamzat any issues. This fight could turn into a bit of a grudge match. Maybe this could go to the later rounds. Khamzat could get a little reckless, aggressive, and try and really hurt Paulo and just end up turning this into a dog war. I don't know, though. I still just am not confident in Paulo. I'm super confident in Khamzat. I think this is the perfect matchup for him in Abu Dhabi, in front of his home fans. He's going to want to put on a performance. He's going to want to make a statement on his return. And there's no better statement than going out and finishing a top 5 middleweight after not fighting for a year. There you have it. That's going to be it for this video. I want to hear your guys' thoughts, so let me know in the comment section below, who do you guys think is going to be winning this fight? Am I being completely ridiculous and completely underestimating a guy like Paulo Costa? Or do you think I'm pretty spot on with what I think about this fight? I love reading your guys' comments. It'll be very interesting to see if people are still really hot on Khamzat or if things have cooled off a bit since he hasn't fought in a long time. I'm very interested to see what you guys have to say. But yeah, thank you guys for watching another one of my videos. Subscribe if you like the content that goes on around here. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Take care.